Hey everyone, and welcome to Pro Tools Answers, where three Pro Tools experts discuss, demonstrate, and elaborate on your Pro Tools questions put to the community in Avid's official Facebook support forum. I'm your host, Dave Phillips, lecturer for Point Blank in the UK, and on today's show, we're continuing our discussion on proper technique for Beat Detective, focused on the oft misunderstood collection mode, which is useful for getting a little bit more specific about how you want Beat Detective to deal with each of the individual tracks within your selection. And joining me, as always, say hi to Master Instructor Anders Motz at Tonquah Werk in Austria.
Hello.
And to Andy Hageman, head of Avid's audio training for the entire galaxy.
Woohoo!
Hey, Andy.
How you doing?
So, collection mode is, Andy is particularly enthusiastic about this one.
I like this one because it's, Beat Detective is deep. It's complex, it's deep, it's easy to do things wrong. And one of the other things that it's easy to do is to get frustrated, because with normal collection mode, well, let me show you the problem, then we'll show you how to solve it. So what we've got right here is Dave's session, and if you were watching last week's show, you know that this is a drum beat, and we've already done the selection, we've done all that stuff. So we've got a multi-track drums. Now, if you take a look over here, you've got your snares, and the snares are loudest, right? That's not unusual. The next loudest are your kicks. That's also not unusual. And then you've got your hi-hats, which are usually very, very quiet, but important, right? And the problem is, in many cases, I would dare say even most cases in my experience, is if you take a bunch of tracks, like even your kick drum, your snare drum, and your hi-hat, which is usually what I limit myself to, if you do those together and you analyze them together, then by the time you have gotten sensitive enough to pick up the low amplitude hi-hat, you're picking up all sorts of bleed, all sorts of stuff you don't want in the kicks and the snares. Right, and then you go back in there and you have to manual do things. You try to move stuff around, you delete stuff, and all that time you're wondering why in the world anybody ever uses Beat Detective, right? So
yeah,
collection.
But there is also another problem by doing that, because you're mentioning like hi-hats, but what about overheads and stuff like that?
Well, sure. Usually
sound takes time to travel. So what you might end up with is actually the snare is getting registered as another hit in another microphone, but it's arriving late. Right?
And I never analyze my snares. Never. Not once. Or, sorry, never analyze my overheads. Overheads. Yeah. I was looking at the word snare and my brain went... but what I will do, and Dave has set this up...
But that might even be a problem in like... Tom mic or something like that.
Completely. And what I usually do is I'll turn on, because, and you'll see why in just a second, I turn on link, track, and edit selection, which Dave has already done. It's the little blue button right next to the link, edit, and timeline selection. And then what I do, I typically use Beat Detective as gently as possible. I don't Beat Detective the hell out of everything, because it tends not to give me the results that I want. So what I'll do is I'll get the kick, one kick track, because you've got two different mics, so choose one.
Yeah, but what one would you choose in this case? So in this case, I'd really zoom in and look at the one that is actually kicking first. And we zoom in a couple of more steps, Dave. You can see that one of these mics have been placed
a little bit closer, yeah. So the second one.
And the second one. So yeah. I'd used the second one here.
I would too.
Because that's the attack.
So go ahead.
So use the second one.
So go ahead and select that track. And only that track. There you go. Now, because link, track, and edit selection is on, the same edit selection just travels with the track selection. And then I'll do the same thing with snare, and then I would do the same thing with hi-hat. I would choose the first kick drum, I would choose the first snare, and I would choose the first hi-hat. And then this is my normal mode that I don't usually use, is I'll go into normal mode, I'll try to analyze that stuff, and I'll be frustrated, because even with this, I'm going to get all sorts of bad triggers that I don't want with on the, let's say, the kick drum and the snare drum before I even get close to getting the detail that I want in my hi-hat. Okay, so let's go from normal mode. We're going to do a different workflow utilizing something called collection mode, and it actually takes a lot of the problems of Beat Detective, throws it right out the window. But you have to know how to use it. So let's go here. Do me a favor, and let's select only that kick drum. So deselect the snare, deselect the hi-hat. Great. Solo it. The other great thing about this is you get a chance to really listen and focus in on what's important. And just because, let's zoom. There you go. You did it even before asking. And let's go ahead and click and hear that. Listen to it. Okay, so it clearly has a few 16th notes in it. Okay, so you can go back into normal mode in Beat Detective. A little bit too fast for me. There you go. And what I'll do is go to your resolution. So the
analysis.
Sorry, but you can go into contains, which is your quantize and analysis resolution. So if you go into the section area, you're telling Beat Detective at this time that the stuff that I'm listening to has 16th notes in it. Great. So for this, we're all cool. Now go ahead and I could stick with enhanced resolution, or if I wanted to, I could go with low emphasis. Right? It doesn't really matter at this point. If I have any difficulty, I can change that to whatever I want to. But let's stick just because it works most times. Go ahead with enhanced resolution and click the analyze button. Great. And because we have subbeats, the subbeats radio button is chosen. Because it's done that, it goes all the way down to a 16th notes, which is our the contains thing. And we can take a look at this, and let's go ahead and take a real quick listen to it and make sure that every significant kick drum hit has a marker on it. Okay, so right now it's too sensitive. And don't go in and do all your editing. Yeah, there you go. That's the pepper. Okay, go ahead again. Great. And you can see here, everything just got a lot easier. You just brought that sensitivity down. It filtered out basically the bleed from the snare. Great. Fantastic.
So by doing just one track, you basically eliminate the problem from other tracks, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
So now I'm going to go to the detection menu button from normal. There you go. Go into collection. Now we're going to get into something brand new. Now we don't have any beat markers now. So really basically anything that either the add all or add unique button would work in this case. It'll do the same thing. But for now, just for whatever, click add all. And you're going to see, boom, you're going to see all those beat markers come in. Great. Now let's go down to probably either the snare tracks is going to work, but if you wanted to take a real close look, you could go to the one with the first hit. But to me, it probably doesn't make a whole hill of beans worth of difference.
Yeah, go to that snare track, I think,
Okay.
and then do the same thing.
Okay, now go back to normal. If you wanted to be super cool, because I know that snare only hits on the downbeat, on the upbeats, I think. Go ahead and play it. Okay, so it does have that, which I'm going to ignore. That one snare hit, it's all fine, but I'm going to ignore it because I can, right? So now go into don't do what you just did. You just analyzed it again, didn't you?
I think you
I just switched over to Beats.
Okay, great. So that's what you did. So do me a favor and go into contains in the selection area.
Section.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
It contains quarter notes.
That's 8 notes.
That's 8 notes. Sorry. Now let's analyze it again. And now it's assuming that there's nothing in here with any resolution lower than a quarter note. And what does it think that is?
That's
it thinks it's on bar 3, but it's not. You could, if you wanted to, type a different one in there, or you could go into let me ask you, Dave. Do you want to keep that snare in your analysis or not?
Yes, I'll keep it in the analysis.
Okay. Then in that case, because it's not, it's confused. It thinks it's right on the third beat, which it's not. Go into contains and change it to, I think that's a 16th. You're going to have to go back into 16ths. Now, at this point, there might be all sorts of bleed. And the snare tends to be a very easy one to do because snares are so loud. So you can, if you find that you're picking up anything that you didn't want, you can bring your sensitivity way down, and it usually works just fine because that's snares, right? But how do I add what I...
It depends on how the drummer plays, right? Because there could be a lot of small ghost notes and stuff.
Right.
And it could be a very dynamic snare track as well.
It could, but for me, usually that stuff is not key to the groove. All the flams and the presses and the roughs, all that stuff is usually not tempo dependent. A rough is a rough is a rough. And so I usually specifically want it to ignore that stuff because all it's going to do is give Beat Detective a hard time, right? In this case, it's a very simple snare track, so I could ignore that the one hit on the on that 16th or not. It's not going to do any problem either way. So now what I'm going to do is I want to add what I've analyzed there to what I analyzed before. So I go back into collection mode, which Dave's already done, and I'm going to add unique. And you'll see here that I have, it may be hard to see in YouTube, but you can see that there's a small change in colors. The first one's kind of a purple and the second one's kind of a magenta. So you can see, I'll usually add unique because it is possible that that there may be two hits on the same beat, and adding unique will prevent you from getting those double triggers. So not completely, you still have to watch it, but it usually helps you ignore it. So now you can see color-coded the two different instruments, right? Now I'm going to go to my last one usually is going to be to go to hi-hat, and Dave's going to choose hi-hat one for no particular reason, and Anders, we could go in there and probably think which one hit first.
I think there's only one hi-hat track, actually.
Oh, is there only? There you go.
There's only one hi-hat
okay,
track.
then that makes life even easier. Now, if we take a listen to it, it sounds like it's got eighth notes in it, or 16ths. What is it?
It's just eighths.
Just eighths. So go ahead and play that for me just so we can hear it. There you go. Now, this one's going to be tough because there's a lot of snare bleed in there, okay? So let's go with high emphasis. Analyze it. Great. And you're going to bring up the sensitivity. Why? Because it's a low amplitude sound. And let's take a listen and see what we get. Great, perfect. And high emphasis basically will go towards the higher frequency content when there's notes at the same time, which is not going to present a huge problem here in either case because they're both pretty close to each other. Great. One last time, let's go into collection mode. Boom, and add unique. And you're going to see now we have three different colors right there. And the only thing that makes this a little bit hard to teach sometimes is the colors are really, really close together, but there are three different colors. Now, I've captured what is key to the groove. Now, in some cases, I'll go with toms if the beat is a tomish kind of beat. But let's say for the purposes of explanation that it's not right. Now, I've collected all of the important events in these three tracks, and each of those events has been marked by its own color-coded beat marker. Now what I want to do is I want to apply whatever I'm going to change to the entire thing. So select from your kick one all the way down to the bottom of your last drum tracks, including your overheads. Great. And because we've got link track and edit selection, life just got a lot easier. Am I going to analyze my overheads? Never, because all it's going to do is give me problems. I want to maintain that distance between the close mics and the overheads. And at this point, The workflow is exactly the same as everything else. You go to clip separation, go to clip conform.
And I think that's the same settings from last time. Anyway.
Sure. Yeah. And then you go to edit smoothing because you're going to get the same kinds of problems, with the gapping, and you're done. Mm-hmm. And this, to me, it's not that you're going to get a qualitatively different result. It's that you have to put in a lot less work in a certain kind of situation where it's hard to capture the right beat markers. Collection mode allows you to focus on what's important and filter out everything that isn't. That gives you your collection of beat markers, and then once you got that, boom, Bob's your uncle. Just apply it, and you're done.
Yeah, awesome sauce. So I just want to point out, I think the X in the kick drum sound was a "don't use this track." I'm pretty sure that kick drum sounds like shit. So we definitely selected the wrong one. But the great stuff, Andy. I think that's made collection mode certainly a lot clearer for everybody, when to use it, how to use it. Now, there was something else that you wanted to show with collection mode, because we were talking about using collection mode for making up tempo maps, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, and collection mode can be used in a lot of different situations, but to me, it may be the most obvious use of Beat Detective is to correct a live played drum part, which is essentially quantizing it to a certain degree. Now, I am a man of a certain age, and I have come to believe that quantization has been grossly overused. And if I can keep the errors of a live human being, which aren't actually errors at all, they are intentional playings with time. I don't want to quantize the life out of a good part. I mean, if I use Beat Detective on somebody who happens to be rushing, I don't even quantize it 100%. I keep their groove. I just tighten it up a little bit, right?
But Andy, first of all, you've got you've got great musicians working for yourself, which might not be the case for everyone.
That's true.
And number two, also it's very genre, for different styles of music. It's really appropriate to quantize everything, and for some styles, of course, don't ever. I wouldn't do that on a jazz recording, right?
Completely. But
depending on style, I think it could be really appropriate, even with fantastic drummers.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. Listen to the grooves of a lot of stuff that you think was quantized. It hasn't been. Right, there's a lot of dance music that you're like, oh yeah, I know the technique they used it, and then you take a look at the drums, like that's not what they did.
You're absolutely right there as well. Yeah.
And that's where because it's that playing, that non-linearity of time. The tempo is the same, but what happens between the bars is what the groove's all about. And let's say that I have a good drummer, which I've got a session that I did. So I'll share mine. Let's see. Am I sharing sound? Yes, I am. So let me make sure that you can hear this. Yep. Okay. Now, if I do this, I could do the same kind of thing. And Dave, let me make a note for the thing. Let me set this up as far as the selection area, because they don't need to see this again. So let me just pause this, I guess. I'll let you know when I'm ready again. And let's see if I can remember how to do this.
Shift Option Tab.
Yeah. Like I said, let me see if I remember how to do it. I know you do, because you're a master instructor. Let me go in here. That's what I could have used. Okay, so it's
fantastic.
So I've got. Let me tee this back up. Okay, and at this point we can start the show back up again. Is that cool, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely.
All
So just lead in with I've got a session or whatever you said before. Like I've got a session to show or whatever.
Okay, so I've got. Okay, so I've got a session here, and I think you've seen this one before. I've used this, I think, in a couple other shows, where I've got a bunch of drums, and I'll do a vertical zoom so you guys can see these little guys. There we go. That's that pepper. Get rid of this. So there you go. So I have kick snare, very, very rudimentary kind of thing here, and I like the groove. Let me go ahead and play it real quickly for you. Okay. Now,
sounds great.
Yeah, it's not.
This is where I'm making mental notes to use mixed tracks during our demos and not.
There you go. That's right.
Not bare audio.
Right.
It sounds so uninteresting.
Now, if you take a look at the keys, it's your generic kind of arpeggio, right? And you can hear the little kind of twinkling going on there. What I want to do is I want to not quantize the drums. I want to pull the groove from the drums because the bass is fine. But I want to pull the groove from the drums onto a tempo map and then have the keys, which are, we'll make these right now, tick bass tracks, make them follow that groove. Okay, so how do I do it? I'm going to go down here. I'll go with Beat Detective, Command 8, boom. I'm going to go in here and make sure that this is not going from bar 780. Okay. This is, in fact, going from bar 1 to bar 8. Now, I could type it in or I can capture at this point because I've got a selection that
bar 9, right? Yep.
Right, bar 9. Sorry. It's an 8-bar loop. So starting bar 1, if you take a look up here, that's correct. But always, whenever you have any question, let your ears be your guide. Always, always, always. And we'll go ahead here, just make life a little bit easier for us. So we'll go here. It doesn't matter what mode you're really in at this point, but we'll go into bar marker generation. This pane is going to be the same for any of these guys, either this or this. You can go with any of them, but we'll go with bar B because that's what we're going to be doing. Let me go ahead and listen to the kick. Right? Okay, got a sense of it. There is a little bit of bleed, right? So if I wanted to, I could probably go with low emphasis, but you can see here it's probably not going to be a problem. So I'll go with enhanced resolution, boom, and I'll bring that slider up. And let's take a look and make sure I'm not. Wonderful, happy.
Oh, there's a couple of misses there in the end.
Yeah.
I think you got the false detection now in the.
Darn it. Okay, go back. No, it doesn't mean you don't have to do any, I think, I guess, but
Yeah.
But life is a little bit easier.
actually, in this case, I think it would be been quicker to manually add the one that you're missing instead of removing 8 of those that you.
Yes, except for the fact that I don't trust my ability to click in the right place. So I actually do this because I know it's going to be more accurate to let it detect it rather than me try to click where I think it's going to be.
No, I think he's wrong.
Okay, so we have captured everything, and we can go. This is right. We could go either way with this. That happens to be the way that I usually go. Great, fantastic. Now we're going to go ahead and stop this. Go into collection mode. Add all. Boom. We've got those. I'm going to go down to my snare. And you can see here that the old analysis is still there, right? And that's completely inappropriate. So I'm going to go over to here to normal. Again, snares are kind of no-brainers, and if you listen to the snare, it's a fairly clean snare track. Now he bounces his snare drum off there, which is great, but it's not part of the groove, right? So there's a lot of low altitude stuff that I don't need. So I'm going to want to keep this to be very bare bones. Like that the bouncy stuff is great. I just want it to be part of my analysis. I know. Let's see how that.
Looks
That's
good.
it. So now, it's minimal cleanup. I mean, is beat detective an automatic thing? No. And the second you start thinking the beat detective does all the work for you is the moment that you start to be disappointed in it. But
that's the same with anything, I find.
Yeah,
Everything
completely.
should have the human involved.
So add unique, boom, and you can see here. Because of my screen colors and all this stuff, you're probably not seeing any color differences. I'm not. And then finally, I'm going to go into hat, which sounds like this. It couldn't be any more nasty metal sounding. Let's go back into normal mode. I'm going to analyze this again. And it's
high emphasis, maybe?
It's possible.
There's quite a lot of body in it, but it depends how low the low emphasis
But you can see, by the way, Anders called it right, because it immediately changed what it started seeing at that part. Great, and I want to keep that. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to get rid of those because I tend to do those ghost notes and tend to get rid of it because it can cause problems. Great. I'm going to go over here. Boom. Collection again. Add unique. And now what I've got, I'm going to do something that is different than what we did before, is instead of applying that change to the kick and the snare and the talkback and all that stuff and quantizing the drums, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go ahead and push this up. I'll go back into normal mode for whatever it's worth. You don't have to. But if you go then to generate, so I'm in bar beat marker generation. I'm going to hit generate. And it's going to ask me, what do you want your tick-based tracks to do? You want them to move. Boom. Boom.
Are they in elastic audio mode?
I believe they are not. Let me go ahead and undo that.
You're going to need that, right?
Yep. Yep, sorry, you called it right. Let me go back here. I'll go to polyphonic just because. Thank you. All right, great. We did that. Let's, by the way, that's something that does happen from time to time, is you forget to do stuff like this. If you do forget to do stuff like that, turning on elastic audio after you've created your bar beat marker map will not do anything. So you want to undo your bar beat marker map. And then
unless you quantize them afterwards.
Unless you quantize them afterwards. But I want to do this in a different way. So I'm going to go here to generate. Boom. It's going to ask you. It's going to move. boom, there you go. And now you can see immediately those warp markers have come up. And it's not a huge difference, but it is. You can hear it.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit tighter now, yep. Yeah. That's really
You're
cool.
actually grooving, right?
Fantastic. Sounds great. And actually, I have to tell you that approach to not quantize the drums, but quantize other stuff to the drums. It's just genius because it seems more human and it seems more together. Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah. Perfection in many cases is not artistic.
No.
Post your comments below.
Andy, can I highlight something quickly that I think probably a few people are noticing? This is an amazing sounding track, right? And it looks like all you've used on it is channel strip.
Yeah. No, completely. Yeah.
So compression and EQ in channel strip only?
I do, however, have a Grammy award-winning EQ curve on the drum sub. You don't usually see that sort of thing, but it's what it is. Yeah, so I think all I'm using is channel strip. I'm using the vibrato on the bass just to give it a little bit of chorus. I haven't seen the session. I haven't worked with the session in forever. I've got a little bit of a 7-band EQ on top of this, and I will do. Usually, I'll do my compression to get things kind of in the right ballpark, and then I craft the sound. In fact, what I will do in more cases even than that is I'll have an EQ to cut out the bad frequencies. I'll then compress it and then I'll shape the sound afterwards. But that has absolutely nothing to do with the topic of this show.
No. But I wanted to highlight it because channel strip is often ignored.
Oh,
we mention channel strip all the time.
Channel strip is so useful. I'll put it on tracks even if I'm not using it just because so I can have it. Let's see, I'm not using it actually. There you go. So I'm using this a little bit. When I'm dealing with a lot of mic stuff, I use it immediately to cut the low end. Even if even if it doesn't seem like there's any low end material, I cut it anyways because low end content with live mics tends to accumulate, and you wind up with a whole bunch of tracks, and all of a sudden this weird kind of mushiness where if you solo individual tracks, it goes away. It's because it all kind of congeals together. But channel strip is fantastic for that. I'm a channel strip fan, and then right after that, Fab Filter. It's my other go-to.
Great stuff. Okay, are we going to leave it there?
Sure thing.
It's probably as deep as we could go into collection mode. That was awesome stuff. So hopefully that has, between the two episodes, cleared a lot of kind of mystery and misnomer about Beat Detective. Last week's episode was all about how to use normal mode for quantizing drums. It does a fine job. And then if you want to get a little bit more into the details, collection mode is the way to go. And that's what this episode was all about. So thank you very much for watching. If you're liking what we're doing, hit like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow what we're doing. Hit the bell icon, and YouTube will notify you every time we upload a new video. You can head over to ProToolsAnswers.com where you can subscribe over there. Andy will write to you every week, and you can also join our Pro Tools Answers Inner Circle over there as well. And we've had a few new subscribers this week, Anders.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
I mean
that's just great value. The Pro Tools Answers Inner Circle, it's just a great deal. So be sure to sign up for that.
Now
the word is
Avid also has an inner circle, so I was thinking we could call ours Inner Tube.
Very cool. We noticed this. I didn't even realize. We don't really interact with it as kind of Avid. We're a little bit closer to Avid, I think, than most. We didn't even notice that there was an inner circle product which gives free kind of tutorials and plugins, right?
Yeah.
So we just went ahead and named ours Inner Circle because we thought it sounded cool, and then realised that Avid already have one. Damn you, Avid!
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, indeed. So if you got any ideas for what we could rebrand our Inner Circle as Andy is pointing down to the comments below, yeah, please do. But yeah, all that leaves me to say is thank you very much to Anders.
Thank you.
And thank you to Andy.
You bet.
Thank you to all of you guys for following us, and we will see you on the next episode. My name's Dave, this is Pro Tools Answers, and we're out.